Welcome to day 2 of classroom setup. Today, hopefully, is a little bit more about decorating and getting some things looking nice in the classroom today. If you're new here, my name is Rachel Vincent and I am a 4th grade teacher in upstate South Carolina. And I'm glad you're here for another day of classroom setup. I am unpacking some things that I picked up from Walmart and some of the things that I printed and laminated at home. One easy little tip is to, when you're cutting things out at home, is to put them in plastic bags or folders so that you don't have to sort them out once you get at school. Then I'm taking one last look at my to-do list for the day. I started to sort some of the things that I brought in, and here I am adding some plants to these boxes. These little boxes I found at Michael's years ago and had colorful flowers in them, and so I'm just trying to calm my classroom a little bit more and wanted to add in some greenery here. Once I have everything unpacked and sorted into zones so I know where to find things, I decided it's time to finish setting up my teacher area. So I start pulling things from my cabinets that I know go in this area. I'm now opening up a box of plastic file holders that I got off Amazon. I actually got this idea from Shelly at Early Adventures here on YouTube to hang these up. My plan is to put things in here that I use regularly, especially things that I normally just keep on my desk, but now that I have less space, I want to put things that I need within reach, but I don't need sitting on my desk all the time. So I'm testing out where to put them. I want to make sure that my laptop that sits on this desk stand doesn't block them. I also grab my clipboard and a folder to test them out, just to make sure that my spacing is where I want it to be. These came with screws, but I am using the Command Velcro picture frame strips to put them up. The package says that it holds up to 16 pounds, so I think that it will work. My only worry is that the Command strip will not stick to the cinder brick wall. So the directions told me to let them stick for an hour before hanging something on them. So I'm gonna get this done and then I'll move on to something else in my teaching area so that they can sit on the wall for an hour. Now I'm just placing tubs and pieces that I have always kept on this shelf, and then also trying to add in the things that I normally kept on my teacher desk to the space, trying to figure out a new system where things can go so that I can have easy access to all my things. And at the end of the year, I just dumped out all of my pens into a plastic bag, so now I'm just sorting them back out. I sort by pen type. It's typically when I go to grab for a pen, I know what kind of pen I want to use. So I'm also storing them upside down. I don't know if anybody else likes to do that. I think they work better when they're stored upside down, so I don't know if it's just me. Now I'm moving on to my Sterilite 3-drawer organizers. I actually needed to replace a few of the labels anyway, and then I decided I wanted all of my labels to be black, so I end up taking all of the labels off and replacing them. I use these drawers to store all of the teacher paperwork that we get throughout the year and every day, but I also use them to store a variety of things over the summer, so I'm pulling those things out that were just stored in there for the summer. And then I'm going to be taping the new labels on with double-sided tape. I'm having trouble locating it, but once I find it, I just pop a couple pieces of double-sided tape onto it and stick it to the front. Because I got rid of my teacher desk, I am planning on storing some things that I normally kept in my desk drawers. So I'm testing out some small containers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree to see what fits and what's going to work and where I can put some of the supplies that I had kept in my desk drawers. I tried to put my tape and stapler in the bottom drawer, but it just didn't fit, and neither did the packing tape. So I try a few other things until I finally figure out what works for this space. Half the time when you're organizing, it's just trial and error. After I figured that out, I moved on to relabeling the rest of my drawers and taking out all of the stuff that I stored over summer. Once I got all of the labels on the front, I actually realized that it's a little too hot and humid in my classroom for the double-sided tape to stick to the front. They started popping off and weren't staying, and I didn't want to fight that all year long. So I decided to go ahead and put them on the inside. I didn't end up filming this part, but I opted to use regular tape on the sides of the labels and attach it to the side of the drawer, because you can actually see the double-sided tape through the drawers if you tape it to the front, and I just don't really like the way that looks. Here is the final look of the drawers with the labels taped on the inside. You can see on the small drawers how they are double-sided and you can see it through. I also ended up changing my teacher toolbox labels and forgot to film that. But here's what I decided to do with my tape and stapler and all of the stuff I need to access. I have a large basket that I got from Big Lots that is kind of like my junk basket instead of a junk drawer, just to hide things. And so that's my little teacher shelf. The drawer labels are in my TPT store and they are editable, and then the teacher toolbox labels came from Hanging with Mrs. Holsey, and I will have both those linked below. Now the command strips are ready, so I hang up the file holders and put these papers to label it inside, but I decided that I didn't like the pink, and so I ended up taking those down. Next, I moved on to setting up my schedule and calendar. I am setting my schedule cards up based on what we did last year. I don't know my schedule yet, so I don't put up the times. These schedule cards are available for free in my TBT store. However, if you would like an editable version, I have those as well. So you can find those linked below. And then I move on to cleaning my board. I noticed it was pretty dirty. I am hanging up a today is and a reminder sign. I plan on using my Cricut to make some vinyl to hang them up, but I wanted to go ahead and hang the ones I had used in the past years up so I could first of all measure to know how big to make the vinyl, but also it's one of those things that I have moved to the bottom of my list. I don't need to start the first day of school with the vinyl, so it might be a project for a later date. I made these calendar pieces and just printed it on Astro Brights paper so that I could have a rainbow effect. And then these little calendar special events like back to school night, first day of school, they are from Maria Gavin on TPT. The calendar pieces are in my store as well, so I'll have both of these linked down below. I am moving on to decorating the walls, so I wanted to give you a quick look at what the walls currently look like. I had taken things down from state testing and things like that, so the things that are on the wall were things that didn't have any academics on it and we were allowed to leave up. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a quick overlook of what everything looks like before I start decorating the walls. First thing on my to-do list is to take down this old projector screen. I had a coworker who came in to actually help me with that, so that is why the film is cut short. And then I laid out the letters that I wanted to put up on at the top in the middle of that wall, which say we are visionaries. Our class theme is Visionaries. We're Miss Vincent's Visionaries. And so I put them backwards so I could put the hot glue on them, and then realized I wanted to use painter's tape to hang them up on the wall to make sure they were spaced and put in the correct place before I hot glued them to the wall. As always, I take a step back to make sure everything looks right, and here's what it looks like before I glue it down. It is pretty much centered on the wall. I know it's a little off from the board, but among the whole wall, it's centered. So then it is time to hot glue it to the wall. I highly suggest investing in a cordless glue gun. It makes things so much easier. You don't have to fight with a cord or make sure you are near an outlet. This was such a big project that I did kind of have to stop a little bit halfway through to allow it to heat back up. I just popped it on the little charger that is connected to the cord. And so while it was heating up, I moved on to other projects. And here is the final look. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I plan on hanging up our class rules on the sides of those. I couldn't do it that day because it was raining and I needed to spray the rules with the matte spray paint so it didn't have a glare. While the glue gun was heating up, I went ahead and hung our happy birthday signs or months. I'll put the student birthdays on cupcakes once I have that information from my class list. And then I moved on to this wall. I already had the best class ever made, and it was hanging over the faux bulletin board I created for our reading anchor charts, but I want to put a reading quote over there. So here I just moved it to this wall. I was just trying to repurpose it. I did the same thing with the visionary word that was hanging in my hallway, and I just repurposed it in the classroom so I wasn't having to recreate all these letters. These colorful letters are actually the easiest to make because you just print them on one piece of paper and there's no cutting involved. So, and it actually turns out looking really good. Here's what it looks like close up. I think it's a little bit too high. It probably needed to come down some, but I don't plan on redoing it, so it's gonna stay that way. I ended up moving this black shelf over here next to our chapter books. We just needed some more space for our chapter books. And so I am kind of rearranging some of these animal posters from Hanging with Mrs. Holsey. They have little inspirational quotes on them. They're super cute, but I needed to kind of move them because they were behind the shelves, and then I ended up realizing that I didn't like spacing on some of them, so I thought, well, you know what? My glue gun is already out. Let's just move the ones that I don't like, because half the battle of changing something is having to heat that glue gun up. So I started working on this project, and then my battery died. So what I'm doing is I picked up these paper fans from the party section of Hobby Lobby and I'm just hot gluing them together. I decided that I'm going to work on this project the next time I'm in my classroom, but I wanted to go ahead and get these fans hot glued so that all I had to do was hang them, because I felt like that would be a process in and of itself. And then the battery died, so the next few clips are done with my phone. I show you another look at my shelf because I did end up changing my teacher toolbox. I wanted to do less of the colorful drawers, and so I ended up replacing them. It all came in the same pack from Hanging with Mrs. Holsey, so I really like the way this looks. I'm loving the way this whole section is looking, and I can't wait to hang up those paper fans. So here is a look at the classroom at the end of day 2. I still have quite a bit to do. I need to finish this reading wall. I have the posters hung with painter's tape, so they need to be hot glued down. I also need to put up the reading quote. I still have lots of things on my tables that need to be cleared off. There's some things that need to go onto the cabinets. My chapter book wall is pretty much complete with the best class ever. And then I need to hang up my paper fans above this poster. I'm going to be adding some black scrapbook paper with some clothespins under the Miss Vincent Loves You sign for when students give me drawings and notes and things like that. I'll have a place to hang them. I want to put new labels on these file holders. I didn't like the pink, so I want it to be black, I think. And this area is looking pretty much set up. I do want to add the vinyl, but again, that's further down on my to-do list. I need to add our class rules to either side of the We Are Visionaries, and that's pretty much it for day 2. See you next time.